this going. So welcome everyone to our Neighboring 101 class. This is for April 15th, and appreciate having those of you on today and those that are listening then remotely after the fact. We are up to nearly 400 people that are registered and part of the Neighboring 101 class, and there's always room for more. So share with your friends. We'd love to have them, and hopefully this information is help to you. I will remind you that our chat section is open, and one of the advantages of being on live is that you get to ask questions of speakers that we have as guests, and then toward the end you get to kind of network and dialogue some, but you can also do that in chat. We love to see comments as we go along. Feel free to pose questions, or maybe you have a project you're working on that you're particularly excited about and you'd like to share about. Chat can be used for that purpose as well. And of course, you can individually message someone else that's in the group. If someone posts about something that you're interested in, you can follow up with them with a private chat as well. So encourage you to use that throughout the meeting. Just a few little things that we typically do each month to provide a little background and sometimes extra information and levity as well. Just 3 updates before we get to our first set of guests today. The pilot project in Greene County, we have 8 neighborhoods that are part of our Engaged Neighbor Network. The pilot project is intended to be a research effort to learn from different methods to try and connect people as neighbors and get them neighboring and improving their community. I would say the process has been a little bit slow. It is painfully obvious here that you have to have someone local, boots on the ground in the neighborhood driving the process for it to be effective. In the neighborhoods that we are seeing some forward momentum, it's because there's a local person in that neighborhood really driving that. Communication through email and Facebook, things like that's not very effective unless someone local is driving it. So that's lesson number 1. If you're interested, our newsletter that we send out to residents, and we have about 528 residents, I think, that are in those pilot neighborhoods. That newsletter can be found online if you're interested in seeing what we're sending out quarterly. And I just shared that link in our chat area. Number 2, planning is underway in Greene County to celebrate National Good Neighbor Day. Now, that is an actual national holiday signed into law by Jimmy Carter when he was president. The actual date is September 28th. In Greene County this year, we're doing it a little differently, taking some ideas that we learned from Midland, Michigan several months ago when they were a guest, and we're kind of doing a full week from September 22nd to October 2nd. And September 26th to October 2nd. A full week around that, and we're kicking off something we're calling 1,000 Acts of Neighborliness Challenge. I need to get better at saying that, obviously. And we're encouraging people to report on what they have done during that week that is an act of neighboring, or if they have been a recipient of an act of kindness from a neighbor, to report on that. We have a particular way that's being reported on, and from the ones that are reported, we'll be offering door prize drawings. Businesses are stepping up, offering gift cards and different things that we'll randomly assign and draw for. And we're also giving $250 cash prizes for the best act of neighboring in each city in Greene County: Ash Grove, Willard, Springfield, Republic, all of them, at least one $250 gift recognizing the best act of neighboring. So if you're interested in kind of what we've put together and the direction we're going, you can contact me. I'd be glad to share the packet and kind of let you see what we're doing with sponsorships. In fact, I think I have a link I can share about that as well. There was a question about our 100 acts of kindness in March, around March 20th for Mr. Rogers' birthday. And yes, we exceeded 100 acts, kind of blew that out of the water, actually. The library said they had over 200 reported, and there wasn't even prize incentives for that one. That was just encouraging people to take action So with the prize structure that we have in place, we hope to really blow it out of the water here in the fall. And there's a link that provides some basic information. What we have at that link is sort of a shell of the idea that we'll be filling in as we get sponsors for the different communities. And they're also going to give a Best Active Neighboring Overall Award, a Diversity Award, a Judge's Choice Award, several things in there. So there's going to be a lot of money on the table, and several media outlets in this area, TV stations and so forth, are on board as media sponsors. So we should really build upon what we did in the spring. And then let's see. I guess that's it for announcements this week, unless there's other questions. And of course, I always offer one little installment of advice from my neighborhood. And in February, Amanda and Thomas Evans moved from Fort Myers, Florida to Cape Coral, Florida. And the news article I saw, they said they were not sure about how to go about meeting their neighbors. They said they would walk their dog and they met some neighbors that way, but they really wanted to do more. So they create a flyer that they handed out to their neighbors. And this is what the flyer said. It said, "Hi, we're new to the neighborhood and would like to meet our lovely neighbors. We will be in our driveway ready to meet any neighbors who would like to stop by. We can't wait to meet you." And they gave a date and time. Well, at first, no one showed up. Then Thomas had a brainchild, and he placed a sign that said "free beer" outside, and the neighbors all started venturing over. His quote in the news article said, "Free beer is a pretty easy way to get people to show up," said Thomas Evans. "It's a great icebreaker for anyone who's new to the neighborhood." The downside is that the police also showed up after a while. So kudos to Tom for trying to get to know his neighbors. I have to tell you that in my neighborhood, I won't be trying this anytime soon. We did offer free donuts on the driveway about 2 years ago, and I only had 2 show up. And at the time, I was a little discouraged by that. I can relate to Tom's pain here when no one showed up. But I've come to understand it's not so much the number as sometimes the people that show up. And those 2 that showed up, one of them now leads a monthly book study for women in the neighborhood, and the other one has organized 2 cleanup events in our neighborhood. So while I only had 2 that showed up, they both became very engaged in this idea of neighboring. So it's not always the number that matters. So don't get discouraged, do not give up, and maybe not offer free beer either. So that's my advice from the neighborhood this month. Our first guest, and I believe I saw both of them online today, are Deidre and Shauna. I think we're both going to join us. They're here to share with us about LAWN. That's LAWN, and I'll share a link to that as well. It stands for Lawn Art with Neighbors. And it's kind of a unique program that kicked off during the pandemic in Springfield. And I think it has a lot of application nationwide. So I offered them to get on and share with us for a bit. Deidre, Shauna, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, David. Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you need to share a screen or anything as well?
Oh, nope. I'm just here to talk. And I don't see Deidre here anymore, but yeah, I'm so happy to be meeting with you all today and to learn more from you. And
nice to meet you. Good to have you.
Good to meet you. There's definitely a lot of connections between LAWN and what you are all up to.
So you started this last year, I guess, during the pandemic, right?
Yes, we started it in April 2020. We were already at the stay-at-home orders here in Springfield, Missouri. And it was we had the idea, Deidre Argyle, Jody McCoy, and I, and we kind of had it up and running within 2.5 weeks, which will probably never happen again as far as the pacing, the quickness of it all. Would you like me to go ahead and just share
Yeah.
a little bit about lawn? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
please go ahead and share with what you did because it's a unique idea.
Thank you. So yeah, as David mentioned, there are some links over in the chat section, but lawn stands for Lawn Art with Neighbors, and it's a citywide near and around Springfield. So not just Springfield, but neighboring cities as well. Front lawn art exhibition. And so essentially what we do is we invite anyone from the community to make art and install it somewhere in front of their house. So somebody from the street, whether they're taking a walk or driving by, is able to see it. And so again, we established this in April 2020 when everyone was at home, including children. Everybody was being homeschooled at that time. And as artists, all three of us are artists and art lovers and engaged community members. We knew that there were so many nurturing and therapeutic aspects of both making art and viewing art. And viewing art during that time was not as easy as it normally is because the local art museum had been closed and all the art galleries as well. So we kind of put our heads together and we're thinking about how can we have or invite the community to think about art making and come together in this way and allow people to see artwork in a really safe manner. So completely social distance, not even walking inside of a building of any sorts. So we came up with this idea, which is now Lawn. And Lawn is now a annual art exhibition. So we're just going to keep it rolling year after year. And anyone at all is able to participate. They just have to fill out a form. And so I like to really push the fact that it really is an event for all. So it's not just for people who make art on the regular, and it's not just for people who are, have often shown art in an art exhibition. It's for people of all ages. We've had a lot of children and family participate in this event. It's for somebody who just has an idea of something fun they want to make, maybe in their front garden or something outside their house, and or for professional artists alike. So we are pleased to announce that Lawn 2021 is in the works, and the public viewing week, it's actually a little over a week, is April 23rd through May 8th. And we have a lawn site map, which is on our website, which is linked below or in the chat, but it's just sculpturewalkspringfield.org/lawn art with neighbors. And that's the best place to see where all of these art installations are happening. Hopefully you'll have some pretty close to you. And one of the things that we love about this project is that it's a way to actually get to meet your neighbors and kind of grow community through one neighborhood at a time, from front lawn to another front lawn. Oh, thank you so much, Dave, for pulling that up.
Yeah, it's great artwork. Love the logo.
Thank you. Eric Pervukian is the designer of the logo there. So I can take questions, or I could talk a little bit more about the project. David, do you have any questions?
I'm hopeful that others in the group do,
Okay.
and if you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can use chat, either one. I'll watch for that. But I think you did mention there's a map on here, right? So if you sign up and share your address, it ends up on the map.
Yes.
I guess that's intended so people can kind of know where to go to see local lawn art.
Yes.
I love that idea. Did you have a way of tracking this last time that you did this? Do you know how many participants you had, or what that looked like?
Yes. So last year we had 65 front lawn art exhibition, and we had over 100 people participate because a lot of people collaborated with their full household, so families or roommates and things like that. And Jody, I love your comment as well. So this year we're still taking submissions. So if you're interested, if you feel called, you're able to still participate. So you can sign up until April 23rd. So we have just a couple more days here. And again, from April 23rd to May 8th is public viewing. And so far this year, we only have about 20 or about 30 people, different lawn sites signed up, but a lot of people, especially our artist friends, and I'm one of them, so I'm allowed to say it, do wait to the last day to sign up. So we're hoping to have just as many lawn sites as our 2020 installation had.
You know, last time, did you have any from apartment complexes, for example, or is this mainly people? Okay.
Yes.
All
So
right.
we had probably about 3 or 4 from apartments, and they all had balconies. So they displayed, somebody had paintings hung from their balcony kind of fencing. Yeah, and then we have all kinds of work. We have sculpture, painters put paintings outside, a lot of installation, chalk art. We actually had a video piece last year that was only viewable at night. So you're going to get a very big variety of different artwork that you can see here. And maybe it's a great way to learn something new about somebody you live near too. You know, they put something out and it's a way to just build those deeper connections with people.
Yes, absolutely. From participants, any questions from you all?
Is all the artwork owned by the person, I guess, presenting it?
Yes, that's a good question. It is. It's owned by the creator of the artwork, and our lawn is supported by a couple organizations. So the Springfield Art Museum, Missouri State University Art and Design Department, and Sculpture Walk Springfield. But yeah, we all come together to make this happen for folks, but we've never like purchased artwork from anyone at this point. We're trying to build up a budget for maybe being able to do something like that in the future.
Has there been any interest in the community, or have those pieces that have been on display, have they had offers for purchase?
I don't know. None of our artists have told us that. I am curious if that's happened, to somebody and they haven't shared it with anyone, but not that I know of.
Well, public art is a great thing, and this is a great blend of public art and neighboring. A very creative idea. Are there some things we can do to help spread the word, maybe, or encourage participants?
Thank you for asking. Well, I would love for you all, if you can, to visit our social media. You can find it through that main webpage that David and I posted. You can just find us on Instagram and Facebook under Lawn SGF for Springfield, Missouri. And anything that you can do to share it and just promote it, so people, that are on your friend list know about this opportunity to go out and see art, or even show their own artwork if they like. And then there are a couple ways to make direct support too. We have official lawn shirts for sale right now, again, designed locally and printed locally. So you can find those shirts. They're very awesome. They have the flamingo on them. They're bright spring colors. And that is at GreekCornerPrinting.com to find those. Yeah. And then we also, you can make a direct donation to Lawn if you're interested in seeing this unique community project continue.
All right. We did have a question if you've been able to track new relationships or anything that came about as a result of your previous effort.
Pamela, thank you so much for asking that question, because now I want to do that. We didn't think about doing that last year, but I would love for our artists to have the opportunity to share something like that with us. So we normally send a survey at the end of Lawn to see about how the experience went. And I'm definitely thinking, thank you for this question, because I'm going to add something in there, like a call for stories if they built any connections or had any interesting conversations with folks from sharing their art in this way. It's a great idea.
Well, it's a fun thing to participate in, Shauna. I love the idea. Our neighborhood did a small version of this during the pandemic. We encouraged lawn art 1 week, or chalk drawings. I had a lot. I did create something from my front yard, and I had a lot of feedback on it from my 2 children and my wife, who didn't understand it and thought it was not a very good idea. So I'm going to have to really step my game up this year and maybe pass my idea by them first before I stick my art in the front yard. But
yeah, that's amazing. David, did you say
oh,
you participated in lawn or in your own neighborhood kind of art?
in our own neighborhood, we had a couple of ladies that wanted to organize some things during the pandemic, and we had a
Awesome.
chalk art week, and then we had a front yard art week, and but hopefully all of your participants will get really positive feedback. I was just, the family feedback wasn't necessarily positive for me.
They were your biggest critics.
Yeah, that's sometimes the case, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shauna,
well, I love the.
I had a question. They say what imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. If another neighborhood in another city or state was interested in doing something similar, the acronym LAWN is so perfect, and the logo is spot on. Is there a template, or is that how do you collaborate with other cities that would like to do something similar?
This is another great question, and it's something that came up for us this year because somebody from St. Louis reached out, and it made us start dreaming a little bit bigger and dreaming about being able to help facilitate another city to start this program on their own. And our lawn actually was inspired by something called terrain exhibitions, which I believe is in Oregon, I think Portland area. So it's totally that imitation. It's different in a way, but as flattery. So if anyone here or in general does want to run something like this in their neighborhood, we would definitely be happy to share everything that we have and formalize some sort of templates and things like that as well. So the main thing we would be looking for is, because it's this whole thing is only being really facilitated by me and my main collaborator, Deidre Argyle, who may be on here. We would love for somebody to be in that town and be a really strong leader so we could help them, but they were really doing a bulk of the work for their town, for their lawn.
Wonderful.
Well, I'm hearing about some. Oh, go ahead, Chad. I'm sorry.
The name, like, is that copyrighted? Can we?
Should we do that?
Are you open to sharing permission? I can email you as well.
Chet, would you like to put your email in the comment just so I could email you? I'll have to talk to my collaborator about it.
That'd be great. Thank you so much, Shauna.
Yeah,
well, suddenly, Shauna, you're regional. Chet's in Columbus, Ohio. So, and I did see a note from someone else about New Orleans doing a Yardy Gras this year instead of Mardi Gras. Community members decorating their yards. That's a clever idea. So you have hit on something here, it sounds like, for sure.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for sharing. I know I'll put in some more effort on helping promote it here locally. I think it's a great idea and a great way to connect with neighbors and maybe have some neighbor conversations as a result. So thank you very much, Shauna.
Thank you.
Well, this month we're packing it in because we have two guests, and our second one is Jody Anderson. Jody is a regional coordinator for ApartmentLife.org, and so he's really here to talk to us about the neighboring program that organization has started and really refined over 20 years, and how they managed to develop neighboring relationships in apartment complexes. And especially of interest to me is Apartment Life just entered the Springfield, Missouri market at the first of this year. So whoop, whoop, and hoping to expand that quite a bit. So I won't give away the whole story because Jody's much more eloquent about what Apartment Life does than I do. So I'll let him kind of explain that background and their business plan. Jody, welcome, and welcome from Oklahoma today, I think, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'm in Edmond, Oklahoma. We actually relocated to Oklahoma to launch ApartmentLife in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. And so I oversee operations for Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and then we launched Wichita, Kansas, April 1st as well. So that's our fourth state. Yeah, there you go. He's wearing our hat. It says "Love your neighbor." It's great. So we do have a swag shop on our website if anybody's interested in some cool gear.
It's one of my favorite hats, man. Honestly, I wear it all the time.
Oh, I'm so glad. And it does spark some really fun conversations. People will ask you all the time. I have the same hat in my closet right now. But yeah, so ApartmentLife we started 21 years ago as sort of a happy accident, honestly. It was an outreach pastor in Euless, Texas, was looking at unique and creative ways to serve this apartment community that sort of backed up to his church. And it was a largely international population, so kind of difficulty getting with communication barriers and things. And so they started building a team of folks to go out without any agenda other than just to build relationships and love their neighbors. And so every other week they would do a social activity or recreational activity for the kids. And over time, about a year into serving this community, the property manager had started noticing just such a culture shift in the community. More people were hanging out outside, more people were connected in relationship. And naturally, because of that, their roots were deeper. So more people were renewing their lease. And that made the property more money. And so it was a great opportunity for us, but what it did was it sparked this idea that, we realized quickly that apartment owners and management groups are usually really great at operations and really bad at people. And so we wanted to partner with them to be their people, so to speak, and to neighbor well and to love the residents and the communities that we serve. And so over the last 21 years, we've grown to serving and becoming the leaders in resident retention and satisfaction in the multifamily industry. But we have 627 apartment communities that we serve across 31 states and Canada. And then June, we are launching Northern Ireland as our second international project. So it's going to be pretty amazing out there. So if anybody wants to move to Northern Ireland to love their neighbors, let us know. We're looking for people. So, but all that to say, we are faith-based operation. We are faith-based nonprofit, but we want to be known for business excellence. And so we've developed our program to have standalone business value, whether you believe in Jesus or not, matters very little for our organizational structure. So we can serve everybody, every community that wants us to. But essentially how it works is we built a program designed around what we call the resident life cycle. And our whole purpose is really to improve quality of life. We have a term called care, connect, and call. And what that means is we want to care for people during times of need, celebration, crisis. We want to connect people in vital relationships with one another, and we want to call others to do the same. And so that's sort of our linchpin, and whatever we kind of funnel everything through those 3 C's. And so when we identify a community that wants our service, we'll recruit and hire a couple that loves people or a coordinator from the area really close to that community and place them on site. And they receive about a 70% discount in rent in exchange for executing the program, which starts with when people move into the community. So our teams and coordinators get a list from the property management company of everyone that moved into the community each month. And we get to go by and knock on their door, welcome them to the community, invite them to the next event, check and gauge how their move-in experience has been, make sure that they, as you guys know, when you move into a new community, usually comes with quite a bit of anxiety, especially in apartments where you live around hundreds of people but don't know anybody. And so there's a lot of anxiety that comes with moving into a new property. So having just a friendly face show up to introduce ourselves that's not on staff at the property, but we let them know, hey, we're here to love you and serve you. So if you have anything that you need, let us know, and we give them our contact information. So that's the first step. The second is what we call Connect. And so the property gives us a budget each month to host 2 social events for the community to get the property get folks outside of their units. It's been a little bit more difficult in the last year, but I'll share how we adapted here shortly. But it's been amazing. That's sort of our calling card to the apartment industry, and gives us a platform to really love people where they're at, connect people in relationships, let them meet their neighbors. And obviously that improves the operating income of the property, but it improves the quality of life of the residents living there. To be connected in relationship. There's a term that we call the friendship factor. So if you have 7 or more friends that live in your community, your chances of sending your roots down a little bit deeper are 10 times higher. You're 10 times more likely to renew your lease if you know 7 or more people in the community you live in. And so our goal is to get you to make friends. The third is what I mentioned earlier. It's just resident and staff care. We love people well where they're at. We're trying to find out what needs people have and trying to meet those needs. My puppy, sorry guys. And then the last piece is renewals and online reputation. So we manage all the social media platforms for the properties we serve. And we also try to drive positive online reviews, because we know that's a value add to the communities, and it allows for higher occupancy for the properties, because everybody's looking at Google to find out where their next apartment's going to be. And so our goal is to really get people engaged in community, and get people connected in relationship. So I want to share a little bit. Can I share my screen, David? Is that?
I can give you co-host duties here, so you can.
Awesome. Well, so we've been doing this for.
That should give. You should be ready now.
Okay, excellent. We've been doing this for the last 20 years, but COVID threw us a curveball. And so in 7 days, we developed the Community Care and Connect strategy and rolled it out to 600 teams nationally in 7 days. So it's instead of focusing primarily on getting people together in one single room, we knew we had to adapt and create fully virtual events. And also we started doing resident wellness check-ins and assessing people's risk in 3 categories: financial risk if they lost a job, physical risk if they're more susceptible to COVID, and emotional risk if they had lost a loved one or maybe are depressed because of social isolation. And we categorized each resident across 600 plus communities as green, yellow, and red, and started putting plans in place at each property to make sure we were meeting the needs of the ones that were high risk for those 3 categories. And so I'll give you one example. We have a community here in Oklahoma City that has an 82-year-old resident named Vern. And to this day, he hasn't left his apartment since March of 2020. And so imagine that's over a year of him being in the same apartment by himself, widower. And so we had put a plan in place after that resident wellness check-in to grocery shop for him twice a month, every other Friday. And then when we drop off the groceries, everything is sanitized. But then Vern sits out inside of his bedroom, opens his bedroom window, and Nejla, the coordinator at that property, sits outside of his bedroom window and we call it coffee with Vern. And it just gives him once every 2 weeks, it's a couple of hours that we sacrifice, that Nejla sacrifices to connect with this person. But we really believe that has kept Vern sane during the last year. And he is our biggest advocate and biggest cheerleader because of that. He's written to the owners of the property about how much it means to him to have Nejla there to love him and serve him during this time. And that's exactly what we're here to do. So a few things that we've done is supplementing on-site manpower for apartment owners to anticipate and address the needs. We provide daily or weekly materials and ideas, boredom busters for school-age children, dropping off kits, spa kits for moms that are homeschooling their kids for the first time ever, so that they can relax, refresh, and renew, right? So we provided personal check-ins to every resident at least once monthly, assisting with package delivery for high-risk individuals. We've done grocery shopping. And then probably the coolest thing that we've done has been this here. These are just a few of the examples, real life examples of things that we've done to keep residents engaged and connected in relationship during COVID. We did quarantinis, which is fun, dropping off kits. We've done this was a blind date with a book setup that we did, which was really fun. We have done, these are kind of like along the lines of lawn, but just window art with inspiring quotes. And this was Win It Week. So we've done Move Into Monday, and it's just a social media push to get people to stay engaged. Here's a couple of really cool things. This was a tea event that we were able to drop off kits for people at their apartments, virtual career fairs that we've hosted. It goes on and on. We had a You Suck event. It was succulent planting, which was pretty fun. And these are welcome gifts. We've done welcome to the neighborhood, just cute little gifts that we drop off whenever we welcome new neighbors to the community. You name it, we've done it. So this is a movie night, but we could go on and on. S'mores. This was a virtual painting class. So obviously the instructor's there with her thing. So we also developed what's called ApartmentLife TV, where the same day every month we have a professional instructor teach a specific class. So like in February for Valentine's Day, we did a charcuterie for two event, and that was a real hit. So we just purchased the items for any resident that RSVPs, any neighbor that wants to participate. We drop it off at their door with a card on how to log into Zoom, and then they can still see everybody that's participating on Zoom, just like you and I are here. And it's been really effective to keep people connected in relationship. So here's a few different things, but this goes on and on and on. Just a bunch of really cool things that we've done for the communities. Yeah, the Whitney is a sucker for you. That was a welcome gift that we dropped off. Yep. So, and then we did, this was a story time for kids. We did a Zoom story time, a Facebook Live story time for children. These were build your own s'mores kits we've dropped off at doors. That obviously is gone. You have now entered the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Silly Walks. Commence silly walking immediately. That's probably one of my favorites. And then we had a photographer set up and take funny videos, and they posted it on the property's Facebook page, and everybody was staying really engaged there. But as you can imagine, it's just lots of great opportunity to love our neighbors well. And I think it begins, if I could sum neighboring well up in one word, it would be intentionality. I think, in a time of isolation and social isolation, it's more important than ever. People are hungrier than ever for community, and it relies on people like us to, sacrifice just a small bit of time and energy and effort to love our neighbors well, to connect with them. And I want to stress the importance that it's not reserved for the extroverts. It's very easy to neighbor well. It just might take some of us a little more effort than it does for me specifically. I'm, the weirdo guy that's knocking on people's doors anyway. So very easy for me to connect in a relationship. My wife, on the other hand, is very much a what we call functional introvert. So she can operate in a group setting for a minimal amount of time, but she needs to take about 4 hours after that to like recoup. Oh, you asked about the business model. That's a great question. So our business model funds about 90% of our organization. So the apartments actually pay us for the service. They pay us $650 a month, and then they actually give us a free apartment, and then we charge the team 33% of the market rent of their apartment that they're in. And that still gives them a significant discount, but gets us closer to being flush financially. And then we fundraise the rest here in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri. We fundraise about 12% of our operating costs. We've got great partners that help us with that, but it allows us, through the business model, the financial model allows us to be scalable and sustainable without having to fundraise 100% of our operating costs. So.
And I think if I remember, Jody, from when we had talked, the reason apartment complexes do that is you've been able to demonstrate a really high retention rate
Mhm.
in areas where Apartment Life is involved. Is that
Absolutely.
correct?
Yeah. So we have an organization or a company called the Witten Advisors that helps us with third-party surveys and financial impact analysis of the programs that we do. So after 1 year of service for every client, we actually do a third-party financial impact analysis, and on average, our program brings in based on renewed leases, online reputation improvement, new leases that say specifically they chose to lease as because of the Apartment Life program being promoted as an amenity. Only we're not like a resort style pool. We can love you back. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but on average, there's a return of $150,000+ that can be directly related to this community building program. So it costs them on average in giving us the apartment, the $650 a month fee, and the event budget that we host the events with. On average, it's between $20,000 and $35,000, depending on the cost of the unit a year. But the return is on average about $180,000.
Wow. And I
Community
love,
good for people and the bottom line.
yeah, both things. And I
Yeah.
love you made mention of it in what you were sharing, but you visited with me once about the friendship factor, which I
Yeah.
think was maybe a study that was done originally by Apartment Life,
Mm-hmm.
even. And I can see how that maybe has application beyond apartment complexes too. But could you share about the friendship factor a bit?
Yes, we actually have built a program now called Neighborhood Life, which is we're piloting our first one in April, and we'll see. So, but the only difference is it requires somebody to actually purchase the home, which is a little bit more of a commitment than getting a discount on your rent. But our goal is to really inspire people to love their neighbors and live out an outward facing life, whether they're doing it with us or not. We want to help equip and empower people to love their neighbors well. And so we actually have a curriculum that if anybody's interested, it is very much, there's a lot of spiritual language in it, but there's also, it's totally relatable. Like, again, if you're a Christian, that's awesome. If you're not, that's awesome too. There's a lot of practical examples, like prayerfully hosting a party or remembering people's names. Like if you remember someone's name, that is totally countercultural. If someone introduces themselves once, how often do we just forget their names and we're like, hey, you cool guy with the dog, But if you remember, like Jackie, her dog's name is Bum. Like that's my neighbor, by the way, Jackie, and her dog's name is Bum. But if you remember people's names, like it makes a difference. They trust you more the next time you visit. I've got a list of different things that I would say we also report everything that we do. So writing things down is a big deal. I'll show you an example of the report really quick. So let me see if I can find it. That's the friendship factor doc, but let me see if I can show you this. Here's an example of our monthly reports. So online reputation is a big piece. Here's the welcome visit and their satisfaction scores, how many move-ins. This was the highlight of the month. What a fun month at Alta Sand Lake. We had 2 very successful events with our Easter brunch and egg hunt, bringing in our biggest group of residents yet. So many neighbors from our community came together to make that happen, from stuffing eggs, helping with setup and break down hiding eggs, to helping kids to empty candy and hand out baskets. We love living in a community that wants to get involved and give back to our neighbors. So here is the community in action. Here's all of that feedback. Every time we do a welcome visit, we actually write down so we can remember them next time, what unit they're in, what satisfaction score they gave, any follow-ups we need to do with them, so that by writing all of this down, it really engages us in a way to start training ourselves to remember the stuff that they've said. Here's an example of the events. Again, just really cool. 150 people came to this event and 200 people came to the Easter egg hunt, and there's pictures of each one. And then any acts of care we performed, that's just going above and beyond. We also report and record those too. For instance, like picking up trash on the property, or if we see someone carrying a couch that's struggling getting upstairs, like we're gonna stop and take the couple of minutes to help them out, and it separates us from the masses and really connects us in relationships. But as you can see, the simple act of just recording and reporting what you do helps us to remember who we're serving, and it's valuable to us, but it's also valuable to the apartment owner to see what we're doing each month.
I remember, I remember from your friendship factor, the chart, that if you're able to connect a resident with four to six friends in the apartment complex, they're 40% more likely
There it is, right
to,
there.
to be retained as a renter, which is, of course, that absolutely fits with your business plan, what you're doing in apartment complexes. I wonder if that doesn't have further application as well. Even in a neighborhood, if we're able to connect someone to 4 to 6 friends in the neighborhood, does that mean they're more likely to stay there? Yes, but does it mean they're more likely to maintain their home because they see it as a long-term investment, or engage in other ways?
And even now too, like if you think about it, we've had, just during COVID, Oklahoma City specifically is a largely oil and gas employed place. So when the Keystone Pipeline was cut, there were 8 of my people in my subdivision, eight different families that lost their employment due to that. Well, the first people they come to are going to be the people they consider their their family is, but that's us, because we're all a family here. We stay really engaged with our neighbors. You mentioned something earlier about doing donuts. So the 3rd Saturday of every month, we do cheap coffee and donuts. We promoted it the first couple of weeks. Now we have roughly 50 plus people that come every 3rd Saturday of the month just to hang out. We got that idea from a book called The Turquoise Table, which I would highly recommend if you're looking at neighboring. So, but yeah, so we can't afford to or feed 50 plus people dinner like that Turquoise Table, but for sure can buy Krispy Kreme donuts and put a big percolator out there with some nasty coffee. And if you feed them or booze them, they will come. So when he said free beer, I was like, yes, that's exactly. If you can do a whiskey tasting or something like that, like people will come to that. So if you can provide any type of food or drink, folks will come out for that. So yeah, definitely, just being able to be there. They're going to come to you during times of crisis, and we want to be a resource for our neighbors in the same way that if I were to lose my job today, Matt across the street, I know would help me find employment. So it's just really so impactful to be connected in relationships. So
Absolutely. Well, I know you've started Matt been working with a new apartment complex in Wichita, Kansas recently. I know that was one of the areas you added. Have you added any more in the Springfield market since we last visited?
We're close. There's a group called the Coriel Group, which is Coriel Collaborative Group, that is super interested. We have 2 properties with them in Springfield, and they're looking at 2 more. One's called the Falcon, which is about 120 unit property on the east side of Springfield, and then another one is right next to Marion Park and Coriel. Lots of students in these 2 communities, and so we're probably going to treat that property. There's 2 more right above that one. I can't remember what their names are right now, but we're going to treat that as a single community, because I think together they're only like 300 units total, those 2 properties together. So yeah, really exciting. And then we have one potential in Branson as well. So ideally by June we could be in 5 properties in Missouri. So that's my goal. And yeah, so if you guys know anybody that loves people and could use a discount in rent, send them to apartmentlife.org. There's a link to apply on our website. We're always looking for people, honestly, that are excited about community and want to do this. So,
well, I'm telling as many people as I know
I
about
know
the
you are. David's been awesome.
and hopefully that'll jog loose a few leads and a few more apartment complexes, I hope.
Yeah, and
What?
wait, somebody said they're from St. Louis, correct? Is that correct?
Yes, I saw someone in chat earlier mention St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yes, it's Pamela. I'm in St. Louis, and I'm also very interested in your coming to the St. Louis market.
Yeah, so I just got off the phone with an owner named Scott Sisak that owns a property called Colonial Apartments in St. Louis that wants us there. So I think it's Colonial Meadows. I think you forgot Meadows, but yeah. So we're branching out. So we could be in St. Louis very, very soon.
Awesome. I will definitely keep in touch.
Excellent.
I guess that's a good point there too, Jody. Like with Pamela, maybe Pamela wants to connect with you more directly about apartment complexes in St. Louis or get involved in a more direct way. Do you mind sharing some contact information or something so that folks can follow up with you?
Doing it right now.
All right.
I'll also include my cell phone number on there. That's email and cell phone number. If you're interested in staying up to date on everything Apartment Life related, you can follow us on the social media pages. Apartment Life's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then feel free to look us up online. Take a look at some of the things that we're doing. You can see some of the events we've done. Take a look, even testimonials from teams that are actively serving, and some other things. But yeah, we'd love for you guys to even just keep up to date with us. And then obviously we're a nonprofit as well, so if anybody feels led to give, we will happily take your money.
And put it to good use.
Absolutely.
Well, I've asked several questions, but are there others on this call live that would like to ask a question of Jody?
Jody, this has been incredibly valuable. I'll check your website. I'd love to see any of the other stats on the impact you're having. The 7 friends are 10
Sure.
times more likely. The 47% more. Anything like that. I can email you as well. But
yeah, please do.
Sounds like you're making an incredible difference. You're adding value. You're promoting stronger communities. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. Our mayor just gave our State of the City address, and one of his 3 focus areas was resiliency. And I'm reading almost to the end of that This Is Where You Belong book.
Yeah.
That talked about after hurricanes and natural disasters, the communities where they know more people and have stronger connections, they build back better and faster.
It's true.
So you're doing incredible work. Excited to learn more from you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. There's also, if you want to see, I know David and I talked about this pretty extensively, but here in Oklahoma, our governor, his name's Kevin Stitt, launched what's called the Be a Neighbor initiative, and it's been incredibly impactful. Like, we're a state of 4 million people in Oklahoma. So the Be a Neighbor initiative, if you want to look up Oklahoma's Be a Neighbor initiative, that's something that's really incredible. Basically, what they did is they took every nonprofit in the city that has specific social services. Yeah, that's great. That any church that can offer any sort of support to people in need. There's a few focus areas. One of them here in Oklahoma is prison recidivism. So when people get out of prison, there's not a lot of help for them in our state. And our prisons are really overcrowded here in Oklahoma City specifically. So there's a whole list of nonprofits that serve people getting out of incarceration. Branch 15 is one that is specific to women coming out of incarceration. They help them try to get their children back if they're in a good place out of the foster care system. They're doing some incredible work, but that's just one focus area. There's about a half dozen that are specific focuses, but it's giving people a singular place to go, and you can search based on, like, I need food, I need housing, I need all of these different things, and it'll pull up every organization in your zip code that focuses on that specific service. So it's just been a game changer, because if we have, we listed ourselves as a community building or guidance organization, which is very vague. So I'm popping up and getting people applying to, like, hey, and even outside of Apartment Life, like my heart is to serve, right? So I want to love people. I want to connect people and be there for folks. So I'll get an email, hey, so-and-so search, you came up in a search on Be a Neighbor, and I'll reach out to them. And even if I can't serve them, I know someone who can, and just being there for folks that's how we neighbors, to celebrate with people, to mourn with people, to be there for people during times of need or whatever it may be. So anyway, hopefully this will inspire everyone to do this in your own context, whether it's your neighbor next door or your neighbor across the city or whatever it may be. So
Well, we have one question I'll ask here from chat. Does anyone doing anything in condo townhouse complexes that have HOAs?
that's a great question. So
Specific.
yeah, we're not doing anything yet, but I did become the president of our HOA in the last 2 months ago because of this. So our focus is to as we come out of the throes of COVID, to do lots of really in-person events. We started with Food Truck Friday, so that's led by me, but it's not part of Apartment Life at all, or even Golden Life or Neighborhood Life or any other of our other sub groups, but it does. Being an Apartment Life team myself for 4.5 years did inspire me to want to lead out in this area in my own community. So Food Truck Fridays is our first go. So our first one will be, when is 2 Fridays from now? The 30th. So our first one will be the 30th, our first Food Truck Friday. So I'll send David some pictures. Maybe you guys can take a look, and if it becomes a hit, then that's awesome. If it's a flop, I'll still send you pictures.
Jody, thank you. We're coming up on an hour, so everybody don't jump off yet. I'm just gonna give a couple of reminders. Then I hit the record button, the stop button on that, and then you're welcome to stay on a network and chat and share about what you're doing and questions you may have. Sometimes people stay on for quite a while, and sometimes people have other things to go to, but that's the intent. So just a reminder that we do have a Becoming an Engaged Neighbor page on Facebook. If you want to follow that, you'll see different posts and links and stories about neighboring from across the nation on that Facebook page. And then next month, we're going to be hearing from Hannah King. Hannah works for the Community Partnership, the Ozarks in Springfield, and she created, runs, and developed the first tool library. It's called the Springfield Tool Library, and it's the first and only one of its kind in Missouri. Now, I know there are neighborhood tool libraries elsewhere, but she's going to kind of give tips on how to create one, run one, and the advantages it has to a neighborhood. And we may have another guest as well, but Hannah's our main focus next month on community tool libraries. So thank you for being here, and I'll stop our record and happy to network some.